Welcome to the Faculty eReserves tutorial. In this video, we will walk you through the essential skills you will need to make use of eReserves for your courses. This tutorial is divided into 3 parts, so you can skip ahead if you need to. Part 1 addresses how to configure your block in Moodle. Part 2 covers requesting material, and Part 3 will show you how to import items from a previous course and organize your eReserves. In order to start using eReserves for a course you are teaching, the first thing you will have to do is configure the eReserves block on the Moodle page for your course. Once you have logged into the Moodle page, click on the button in the top right-hand corner that says Turn Editing On. Now look for an item on the left-hand side of the screen that says Blocks. Underneath the word Blocks, there should be a drop-down menu that says Add. Look through the menu to find the option that says eReserves and select it. Clicking on eReserves will create an eReserves block in the sidebar of your Moodle page. Now you need to configure the eReserves block. Clicking on the orange pencil will take you to the configuration screen. The first thing you need to do is specify the quarter for this course. It is extremely important that you choose the correct quarter. You can go in and edit this field later, but if you start requesting items for the wrong term, it may impact whether or not the items will be available for the students when you need them to be, and it often ends up costing full or more money in permissions fees. Normally, you will want to pick the quarter that corresponds to the course you are teaching. This will give students access to the material 1 week prior to the start of the quarter. However, if you are teaching a course that requires students to have access to material earlier than that, or if the course dates extend beyond the standard quarter, you will want to choose the non-standard option that corresponds to your course's dates. Later on in the process, we'll show you how to manually configure the dates in which an item is available to students. Once you've chosen the correct quarter, you will have to make a few choices about how the eReserves block will appear to you and to your students. If you choose Link for Student Item Display Mode, all the readings will be listed by title in the eReserves sidebar on the Moodle page. However, it's best to choose None so that your Moodle page won't be cluttered by having a lot of eReserves item titles. You do want to keep Student Course Display Mode set to Link so that the main link to your course eReserves page is still visible. You also get to make the same choice about how eReserves appear on your Moodle instructor page. Here, we also recommend that you choose None and then Link. You don't have to configure anything under the Where this block appears section. Under On this page, you do get to choose where on the Moodle page the eReserves block will be located. Choosing left or right will put it on the left-hand or right-hand sidebar of your Moodle page. Choosing -10 for default weight will put the eReserves block at the very top of the sidebar. Anything else will move it lower down. We recommend setting it to the lowest weight and keeping the link in the right-hand sidebar because that's where students will be most accustomed to looking. That's all you have to do to configure the block. Click Save Changes and go back to the course Moodle page and turn editing off. Now you can start adding eReserves items. In the next section, we'll walk through the basics of this process. This portion of our tutorial will show you how to submit an eReserves request. To request eReserves items for your course, start by logging in to the course Moodle page. Find the eReserves block that you configured earlier and click on the link that says View Course eReserves. This will take you to your course eReserves page. The course name and number will be displayed near the top of the page, and if you have any eReserves items, they will be displayed underneath. The first thing to notice here is the item in the left-hand sidebar that says Switch to Instructor Mode or Switch to Student Mode. If it says Switch to Student Mode, that means you're in Instructor Mode. If it says Switch to Instructor Mode, that means you're viewing what the page looks like to your students. To add items and see their status, you will need to be in Instructor Mode. To request eReserves items, look in that same left-hand sidebar for a link that says Add eReserves Items. Clicking on that link will start the request process. If you have previously taught a course, there is a method to import your items from that course. However, We will walk through that in the next part of our video. For now, let's assume you're starting from scratch. Now, choose what type of material you are requesting, and then enter the item information. All you need to enter here is information you'd find in a standard bibliographic citation. Title, author, publisher, publication date, and page numbers. If you know the ISBN or ISSN, enter that too, as it helps expedite our search for the material. If you have any special information about the copyright of this work, for example, if you are the rights holder, or if you have negotiated ongoing permission for the use of this material, please enter this information in the field marked Copyright Permission Notes. Next, choose how you would like the material to be supplied. If the material is online, please provide a link here, or if you already have a clean PDF, please attach it. Finally, choose when you would like the material to be available to students. As I mentioned in the last part of our tutorial, items are usually made available 1 week before the start of a quarter and taken down on the last day of the quarter, but you can change those dates here to give your students longer access to the material. When you're done filling out this form, click Submit Item. Now your request is in the system, and the eReserves office will start working on it in the order in which it was submitted. Processing times vary enormously, depending on how easy it is to get the copyright permission and scan the material. For this reason, we ask that you submit your requests at least 1 month before the start of the quarter. Every request you have made will be listed in the main course eReserves page, along with the current status of each item. If the status is Item Activation Pending or Item Available on Electronic Reserves, that means we have finished processing the item and it will be available to your students at the start of the quarter. If the status is anything else, that means we are still working on processing the item. One more brief note about navigating the eReserves website. You can view all of your current courses by clicking Main Menu. However, in order to view your future courses, you will need to click Also View Upcoming Courses. That's the basic process of requesting eReserves. Please watch the next part of our tutorial to learn about some of the more advanced tools you can use to make the process more efficient. And remember, you can always contact the eReserves office if you're having trouble. In the first 2 sections of our tutorial, we walked through the process of configuring eReserves and submitting requests. Now we're going to cover a couple tricks that can make using eReserves easier for you and for your students. Often, instructors end up using the same eReserves items that they've used in previous courses. Our eReserves software has a tool to let you copy items from previous courses instead of filling out all of the item information again for the new course. After clicking Add eReserves Items, instead of choosing the item type, notice the page says, or would you like to import items from another course? All your courses should be listed here. Simply click on the course you'd like to import items from, and then make sure all of the boxes are checked next to the items you want to import. All the item history and attached files will be copied as well, which makes processing the request much easier. If you would like to copy items from a course which you are not the instructor, or if your previous course isn't showing up, email the eReserves office for help. If you have a lot of eReserves items for a course, finding particular items can be difficult for you and students. There are a few ways to make this easier. You can order the items by title or author by using the Sort By drop-down menu. Alternatively, you can arrange them manually by clicking on an item title and dragging it up or down to a different place on the list. Once items are in the order you'd prefer, click Save Order so that the items will appear in this order to you and to your students the next time you log in. Another way to organize your items is by adding tags. These are words you associate with particular sets of items, usually based on subject matter or the assignment date. The tag words are displayed at the top of the item list, and you and your students can click on them to see all of the associated items. To add a tag, click on an item and then type in the word or words into that box. If you would like to add more than one tag for a single item, just separate them with a comma. Remember, you can always click Switch to Student Mode to see what the eReserves look like for your students right now. Thank you for watching the eReserves tutorial. If you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to contact our office.